Are you ready to be provoked in your mind, inspired in your spirit, and stimulated to be a better you? Then get ready. TnT Talk, television's inspirational talk, starts now. From the TnT Talk, this is your host, Dr. Tyrone Smith, with my lovely wife and the co-host, First Lady Savannah Smith. And we are delighted to be back with you on this broadcast. This show is brought to you by the Doyen Network. It is a fingerprint of excellence. You can visit us at our website, www.doyen.network. Again, that's www.doyen.network. Sweetheart, here we are again one more time. And as always, looking delightful as you only can.
Well, I'm excited to be back on another episode so that we can share some of our experiences since we've been married.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And we have a lot to talk about. And certainly our subject matter is going to be a very interesting one, as it always is. And we're hoping that it always stimulates and
Sure.
motivates and it impacts the lives of the people that are watching the show. So uh, let's not even wait. I think we need to get right into relationships, just keeping it real.
Let's
We
get into it.
and let's make it work. So let's talk about something that I think that we may not necessarily really consider, because the way that we embrace relationship and even the way that in our Christian faith, um, we never really talk about abstinence. We
Mm.
never talk about abstinence, and we don't talk about the dangers of having gone too far.
Hmm.
So I would like to address what I would call marriage gone wrong.
Okay. I think that's fitting for today's topic.
Yeah,
And you're not
yeah.
going to get a lot of people talking about abstinence because we're living in some very perverse times. And even, I would say, some of the elect
Oh
have kind
my,
of fallen into situations as
oh
well. So
my.
that is not a popular topic that I believe that we'll hear speaking about in the church.
No, well, I think because um, sex is everywhere. Sex is
Yes.
everywhere. I mean, the way that we're wearing our clothes now, being provocative is easy. I mean, because now women are wearing spandex just out. Uh, they have jeans that are jeans, but they look like jeans, but they're really spandex.
Well, it's
That,
become the new normal now, and not only women, you have men that are wearing the tight pants
yeah,
as well. So I
yeah,
think it's just
yeah,
as bad on both sides.
yeah.
And
I
depending
mean,
on where you fall, I mean,
yeah. Oh, oh,
that will
yeah.
determine what attracts you.
Wow. Yeah. Um. So let's talk about this. I'm going to share the scripture, but I just want to talk practical here for a minute.
All right.
We'll get into the word in a minute. Um. So when because there's always been this discussion that I remember down through the years about sex before marriage, and certainly we don't get into that conversation now because very few people really, there's really very little thought that you won't have sex before marriage. It's almost like automatic. It's kind of like uh, let me take it out for a test drive first, and let me see how it ride, and then that'll determine whether or not I'm gonna keep it or if I'm gonna leave it at the dealership.
Well, I do believe that there may be. a very small few that may be practicing abstinence, but at the same time, it's somewhat hard to believe. But uh, can I say that no one is doing it? But the thought is everybody's doing
Yeah,
it.
I would venture to say there are more than
Yeah, I know.
that are not than are.
I agree.
But I think what we need to do is kind of address what could possibly or what has possibly made marriage go wrong. Well, one of the things that made marriage go wrong
Hmm.
was that you've been touched too much
Okay.
and or you yourself have been touching
Hmm.
too much. It's almost like you've been just going to the stores and you just keep trying on the clothes, but you don't never purchase nothing.
Okay.
And so now you didn't try it on so many different clothes and you ain't never bought nothing.
You
Now,
have too many options.
and so here's the danger. Sometimes what people are really having an issue with is fact that you've been window shopping for so long
Hmm.
and you've been touching so many different things
Hmm.
that now when it's time to settle and just have one, well, now you can't have one because you've been so used to always shopping freely and just going about doing whatever you want, not realizing that the multiplicity of
Hmm.
relationships that you have been in
Yeah,
has desensitized your ability to just be satisfied with just one person.
that's good.
So now when you get into a marriage where there is supposed to be exclusivity, well, the problem with exclusivity is you don't even know what that is. You don't even know how that works.
Well, hopefully you won't go down that road until you've gotten all of that out of your system.
Well, that's the problem. And so some have said, get that all out of your system. Well, first of all, how did it get in your system in the first place?
Well, we already know how it got there.
Well, that's the problem because when you have been just dating and sexing, well, now, how do you now become settled with just home cooking when you've been buffeting for so long?
Mhm.
That's very difficult. And when you have been told or made to believe that it's okay to just keep eating from the buffet.
Mhm.
See, these are the difficulty. When I look at when uh I look at the fornication piece
Mhm.
and why he didn't want us to do it, I think what we have done is we focus so much on God not judging you or you're not going to hell for having sex.
Yeah.
I think what we've done is we've kind of gotten settled looking over here
Mhm.
at that particular thing
Yeah.
and not realize that over here there's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So over here, no, you're not going to hell.
Mhm.
But over here, you're going to live in hell. Because see,
Yeah.
over here, you're so worried about God judging you
Yeah.
that you forgot condemnation
Mhm.
and the reprehensible damage
Yeah.
that you have caused yourself
Yeah.
because you have been touched too much.
Yeah.
So much so that many women now don't even know what it is to genuinely be touched and receive it genuinely.
Yeah. That is true, and I agree with what you said. We're so worried about, what we're not supposed to do. We're not supposed to have sex before marriage. That's important, but I think it's equally important, like you were saying, to understand the importance of why he said that. There was a reason why, because
Absolutely,
once
there's
you
a reason
cross
why.
those lines, you open yourself up to so many different things. And your spirit is intertwined with the individual or individuals that you have been having sex with. And once you engage in that activity for an extended period of time, there's so many spirits that you have to deal with because every time you're with someone, you're taking on their spirit. Little
Absolutely.
do you know. So when it comes time to settling down, you have all these feelings and your emotions are all over the place. And like you said, your appetite can't be satisfied because you've intertwined with so many other spirits.
So much so that you physically settle down, but
Yeah,
emotionally still shopping.
yeah,
You're still out there.
yeah.
And unfortunately, even though you got a ring, you still want to do your thing. And that's why it's hard for those who have been touched and have been touching so much
Hmm.
to now get to a point of settling down.
Yeah.
And so here's the other thing too, since we out here, then you've got this new thing where I'm single, so I'm going to aggressively satisfy myself.
Mm.
So now you've got this generation of toy shoppers.
Okay.
And so because of all these toys and mechanisms and all of this stuff, so now we got another problem that the touch ain't even human.
Okay.
Now you've been touched by toys, and now the toy satisfaction has aroused you so greatly
Hmm.
that now the human touch
It's not,
is
yes,
a
yes.
touch.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. So now you can appreciate the human experience
Yeah.
because you're having all of these other sexual interludes
Hmm.
with toys and your imagination.
Yeah. I think one is just
It's just
as
as
bad as the
bad.
other. Yeah.
It's just as bad. And so now you're trying to figure out, well, why can't I be happy? Well, you've been living in the fantasy world. You've been living in this world of masquerade for so long that now what it takes for you to be awakened
Hmm.
to come into the satisfaction of being in a real relationship where you don't even know what that is. You
Yeah.
don't even know how that works.
Yeah.
You don't know how to give yourself over to it. One of the contrasted issues that is happening right now
Hmm.
is that we don't know boundary. Our
Absolutely.
level of promiscuity is on a high.
It is.
And so now, because we've gotten over the God judging you thing, right? So we
Hmm.
don't have the fear of God judging you. But now we don't have no fear of
At all.
consequence.
Now that's a problem. Yeah.
We don't have no fear of, but if what if I go too far? Is there a possibility that if I do meet the right one,
Hmm.
that though I meet the right one, I'm still in my mind in the stadium of all these other people that I've been with.
Wow.
And some of it is not just sexual,
Hmm.
some of them are emotional
Yes, they
connections,
are.
and those are problems. Like there are layers, I mean, layers and
It
layers of
is.
layers of
Yeah.
what could really cause this issue.
Hmm.
And so now, when it comes down to just being happy
Yeah.
with a person,
Hmm.
well, what does that look
It's
like?
really difficult. Yeah.
What does that look
It's really
like?
difficult. Yeah.
I mean, you have been out there, and I mean, you've just been enjoying the buffet. I mean, you just going back to the buffet, and then you trick yourself and say to yourself, "Well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore." So you convince yourself for 2 months that I'm not going to the buffet
And then you start back again.
because your hunger
Hmm.
becomes so great
Yeah.
that when you go back to the buffet, you wild out. So I mean, you just eat until you can't eat no more.
Yeah, and that's the problem, and that's become the norm now because you come in contact with so many individuals now that say either they don't want to be married or they're married, however, they're allowing what's this thing called whenever you invite other people into your
He's
marriage?
swinging.
Yeah, swinging.
He's
And
swinging. Now,
absolutely
how you
insane.
know we in a
So that's crazy.
different. Like I be wondering, have we like slipped off into the bizarro world?
I don't
Like
know what that is.
how in the world are you married and then say, hey, but I'm sharing my wife.
There's no such thing. Yeah,
You sharing your husband. What? But again, here's what happened.
I know.
That swinging element is because the two individuals that are in what is supposed to be a monogamous
Mhm.
relationship, they cannot be exclusive. Their spirit can't won't allow it, their mind won't allow it, and their sexual promiscuity won't allow it.
That's
So
crazy.
so to give that this is what's crazy. So to give themselves a sense, that we have oneness in the marriage, we will mutually agree to allow other people into the marriage. Because as long as I know about the person, and this is what I'm hearing, as long as I know the person, it's not cheating
Well, why even get married?
because now here's what's crazy. So God gives this command about marriage. So we believe God in the theory of what he says about marriage,
Hmm.
but we don't believe God in the sense of what is defined as
Hmm.
marriage. So we've redefined marriage to make it suitable to what we want. Thus, we have it's all good for me. Now,
But it may be initially, but at some point, I believe one party is going to get tired. And I say that because it may take a while, but eventually I think it's going to happen. Because I know of a situation some years ago. Uh, I was sharing with someone, and it was allowed in their marriage. And it was the wife's option. He didn't really want to do it,
mhm,
but he went along with it. And they engaged in it on several occasions. But after a while, he was getting tired of it, but the wife still wanted to continue. So you consented to it. So how do you put a stop to that? That's hard. But it took a
here's
while
here's what
to get
I'll
to that point,
he-
which is absolutely insane to me because I cannot see myself sharing. Yeah, that's a no.
what
Absolute
you
no.
so here's what I will tell anybody. This is a simple way to define, and you could pretty much apply this to anything across any level of your life. Anything that you don't stop,
Uh huh.
you've actually vicariously chose to keep doing.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter that you don't choose to stop it. The fact that you just continue to do it is actually your consent.
Absolutely.
And the more it keeps going,
The stronger that thing is gonna
and
become.
it becomes very, very hard. And
Mhm,
so not knowing some people are going to need like adverse types of counsel,
mhm,
spiritual deliverance
mhm.
in order to get out of
Yeah.
those types of situations. And sadly enough, sometimes many of them, because of the levels that they have crossed over,
Mhm.
sometimes they're not even going to be able. I mean, it's going to be hard for them to come out
Yeah.
because they've been going so long in it. I mean, they've been going so long. Listen, let's take a commercial break right here because this has gotten real hot here. Let's take a commercial and then we're going to come right back because we're engaging in this conversation. Marriage gone wrong when you've been touched too much. This is TNT Talk. We'll be right back.
In this age of technology, graphics are everywhere. PGEE Graphic Design offers flag banners as a great way to display your church, business, or organization. These banners can go up to 12 feet high, 3 feet wide. You can get a feather or teardrop custom banner today. Need a custom logo, seal, or crest for your business, church, or title? Let PGEE Graphic Design help you. Make sure your brand fits your vision. Within 5 days or less, we can give you the image you're looking for. PGEE, designing with you in mind. Nothing makes an event look good like a retractable backdrop or X-frame banner, and PGEE Graphic Design can design your banner and enhance your event. We have many different sizes to choose from and a 7 to 10 day turnaround to get the banner to you. Need a poster design for a special event or funeral? We take our time and design with you in mind to ensure the look you want in the time frame that you need. No matter what your graphic needs are, our team of graphic designers can handle it. Websites, book covers, flyers, letterhead, yard signs, invitations, funeral obituaries, embroidery, car magnets, and so much more. PGEE stands ready to assist you with one or several of your graphic needs. Give us a call 410-793-7238 or via email pgee.graphic@gmail.com. PGEE Graphic Design. We design with you in mind.
Welcome back to TnT Talk with your host, Dr. Tyrone and Lady Savannah. We have been in this very engaged and heated conversation, marriage gone wrong. You've been touched too much. I want to go right into the message. Let's go right into the message because the message very much coincides with the very thought of when marriage has gone wrong. And I want to pull John chapter number 4 into the conversation. I think this is suitable for the conversation that we're having. I think this lines right up to what we are talking about. Let's start right at verse number 7. So I want to pull my sister, this Samaritan woman, into the conversation. I want to hear how she responds when she meets Jesus. Because when the Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciple had gone into town to buy food.
Mhm.
So the Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me
Mm.
for a drink?" The Jews do not associate with the Samaritans.
Uh-huh.
Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a
Mhm.
drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water." So she says, "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with at the well, and this well is real deep.
Mhm.
Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and his livestock?" Which she was talking about the well, because that was Jacob's well,
Uh-huh.
right? So Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again.
Mhm.
But whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst.
Right.
Indeed, the water I give will become in them a spring of
Mhm.
water welling up to eternal life." So then the woman says, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't be thirsty no more." I mean, come on, stop playing games. Man, come on. If you got that kind of woman, come on, talk to me. You give me that water because I don't want to be thirsty. So then he said, go call your husband and come back. She was like, "How did he get into this? What are we doing? Like, sir, I don't have a husband." And he was like, "Now let's get
Now you're
down to the,
talking. Yeah.
come on, let's talk about it because show you right. Show you right.
Just like that.
That ain't your husband.
And the
And as
other
a
ones
matter of fact, the last five
were not
ain't your
even.
husband either.
Mhm.
And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the complexity
Mhm.
of marriage gone wrong. Because see, now you got one. Jesus said he ain't it. You done had five other ones. They ain't it. Now, here's where we're complexed.
Okay.
Here's where we're complex. Now, watch how we go.
Mhm.
Jesus addresses this woman.
Uh-huh.
It starts off with a thirst issue.
Mhm.
He addresses the thirst.
Mhm.
He says, I am the thirst quencher.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, well, if you are the thirst quencher, let's want some of that water.
Mhm.
He says, go get your boo, and then you can come back. She says, I don't have no husband. It's amazing how you can have such short term memory when another guy is trying to satisfy your thirst.
How about that?
Because since you ain't never been satisfied, you still looking.
Mhm.
So when another guy present what could possibly be the satisfaction that you're looking for,
Mhm.
you automatically gravitate to it and you don't even give no thought to the husband that you have. And then
Mm.
Jesus then just broke it all the way open and said, well, since we going to talk about the fact that you ain't got one, about we talk about them last five
Mhm.
that none of them was able to satisfy your thirst. When marriage has gone wrong because you've been touched
Too much.
too much. See, you got all these husbands,
Mhm.
but you still thirsty. You got all these husbands and you still ain't satisfied.
Mhm.
You didn't had all these husbands, but you still don't know what love is.
Mhm.
You done been through all these different
Yeah.
relationships, and yet you meet another guy
Yeah.
and you ready to jump with that guy too.
Yeah.
Why? Because when you've been touched too much,
Mhm.
your soul is always looking for more.
Yeah, and then you can't identify with the authentic person that's supposed to be there.
And so
Yeah.
because we're just in this situation, like we are in a bad situation
Yeah.
right here. We're in a bad situation. Now, Jesus being the prophet and the priest
Mhm.
really identified number one, because he knows protocol. First of all, because of the time of day, you wasn't even supposed to be at this well by yourself in the first place.
Mhm.
That's how I know that the marriage ain't working.
Mm.
Oh my. Let me let me
That's good.
let me identify that many times an unsatisfied person is
Mm.
easy to see
That is true.
because the nature of how they interact with you
Mhm.
will determine the fact that they are still in the field playing games.
That is true. That's true.
This is the reason why you can tell when a person who says that they are married is still playing the field
Mhm.
because the nature of how they interact
Uh-huh.
will give a signal to the
Yes.
other person
Absolutely.
that I'm married with options.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's good. And you
And this
open
is
the door.
why,
Yeah.
yeah, and
You
this
open the
is
door.
why it becomes an open door
Mhm.
because I didn't kick the door open. You opened the door for me
Freely opened it. Yes.
and just let me walk on in and make myself at home.
Mhm.
So when we get to the story of Jesus meeting this woman
Uh-huh.
who obviously is not satisfied, but because he's so wise,
Mhm.
he had already knew based upon the culture, you know, I see what's going on here. Now she tried to throw him off
Mhm.
because he said, can you give me a drink? And so she said, sir, I'm sorry, I don't buy drinks. I don't buy drinks. I don't buy strange men's drink.
Oh, really?
I don't do that. And so then she kind of threw her little rod out and she said, and you ain't even got nothing here.
Mhm.
Now, first, we don't even talk. Remember, you a Jew,
That's right.
I'm a Samaritan.
Yeah,
We don't talk.
that's right.
Then it turns into, oh, well, really? I mean, and you ain't even got nothing here for me to get this water.
Mhm.
That's the language when you are playing the game.
Yeah.
See, when you are in those kind of situations, there are triggers that
Mhm.
are said and or done that gives an indication that yes, I'm married, yes, I have kids, but I'm open to options.
Mhm.
And this is how we play the game.
Yeah, and you have to be smart and wise enough to recognize the game when it's being played on you.
Because at some point when you really are grown, see, I deal with the matter of this whole men cheat things.
Yeah.
Oh no, see, a grown man don't cheat. Boys still cheat. So let me make that clear,
Yeah,
because
right.
some would think that I'm just saying that men in general don't cheat. Well, we know that that's not true. What I'm
Absolutely.
trying to make people see in the text of that statement
Mhm.
is when you're mature,
Mhm.
when you recognize that all of my decisions have consequences,
Yes.
what we're going to do is we're going to be very wise
And weigh
about what
those
we do.
consequences.
And
Absolutely.
so a man who has matured don't cheat,
Yeah.
but a little boy who's still trying to find his manhood
Mhm.
is the one that's out there doing those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And that could be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s,
That's a sad,
because
sad thing.
if you've never been satisfied, if you are still trying to figure it out, if your dreams are still wet,
Wow.
there's a problem.
Indeed.
There's a problem, because at some point there should be some level of maturity that kicks in.
It should be.
So when he starts off and he says that, she first says, because of our nationality,
Mhm.
we ought not be talking.
Talking.
So
Exactly.
if that's the case, conversation's
Should have
over.
ended. Yeah.
Conversation's over. But because I'm still shopping
Mhm.
because I got options.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to see how he responds.
Mhm.
So he makes another statement, which prompts her to then say, well, you ain't even got nothing to fish out this water with. Now,
Mhm.
maybe if you had something for me to get this water,
Yeah, I
maybe
would,
I
yeah,
would
get it for you.
entertain it.
Mhm.
So now the option needle has moved.
Just a little, yeah.
So then he then has to come back and then say, you must don't know who I am. Let me
Let me
drop
help you
my
out today.
credentials
Yeah.
and let me tell you who you talking to.
Mhm.
You ain't talking to any OG.
That's right.
You talking to the smoothest of the smooth. You talking to the one that can satisfy all your dreams.
All of it.
I can quench all your thirst.
Every last
I can make it so that you ain't gonna never thirst no more. I mean, Jesus' game is on
It's a
fleek.
bad man.
He is talking the talk.
Mhm.
And he said, look, you ain't never had this kind of water.
Mhm.
There ain't a pureed nowhere. There ain't a deer park nowhere.
Nowhere.
There ain't a Fiji nowhere. I got the good stuff, baby. You don't know what you fooling with
Mhm.
right here. Let me give you a little taste.
Just a little taste.
So then, because he didn't talk his talk, her options have now turned into curiosity,
Mhm.
which is exactly how when you are shopping with
Absolutely.
options
Mm.
take place.
Absolutely.
This is how it works.
Mhm.
It's never the initial conversation.
Yeah.
It's always conversations.
Mhm.
It's always a little bit more.
Yeah, it is.
Then it's, let's go have lunch. Then it's, well, we're going to stay at work a little later. then it's let's go have dinner. Oh, it's all innocence.
So yeah, and so whenever that time happens, there is no excuse of it just happened. I don't know what
Oh
happened. I
no,
don't know how I ended up here.
it never just
Absolutely
happens.
not.
It
It never
never just
just
happens.
happens. Never.
Oh no,
That's a
no, no,
lie.
no. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just grow up right here
Right
and
here.
let's just address the fact
You
that
don't fall into anything. You
listen
walk
to
right
me.
into it.
Come on now,
Right into it.
because everything that happens preconceived in your
Absolutely.
mind.
Absolutely.
Whenever there has been the possibility of cheating,
Mhm.
cheating was always in the mind first. It's never a cheat and then it gets in my mind. No, ma'am, no, sir.
And it may start off with subtle thoughts.
Oh,
But
it's
yeah.
always subtle
And if
because you
you
convince yourself that it's all innocent.
yeah.
You know, we're just friends. She say she's just a friend.
Oh, you
So
went way
we,
back.
oh baby,
You got what I need.
but and here's what's funny. You don't sing it to your wife at home.
Yeah.
You sing it to the chick that you want to roam.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be satisfied. You are so optional minded
Hmm.
that there is no thought. Very few people are now giving over to the thought that I could actually be satisfied by one person and one person only. They don't have that thought. So because they don't have that thought, now if that's the shared thought, it becomes easy now to then go abroad. So in the narrative of the woman, and Jesus is, talking his talk, and he's like, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, you can order a water cooler, you can order the filter connected to your water fountain. You can go dig a well out back. You ain't never
Never.
had this water, baby.
Huh?
This water right here is gonna do something that you ain't. This water is gonna keep quenching your thirst after you drink it.
That's some water.
That's some water right
That's
there.
some water.
I mean, that's that kind of water that it cleans out everything.
Everything.
I mean, everything in you feel in some kind of way. And so she like, well, if you got that kind of water,
I need that.
well, then I need to quench me.
I need that in my life.
Quench me. Need to be quenched.
Right
I
now.
need the quenching. I need my soul quenched.
Hmm. Right. Not tomorrow,
Look,
but today.
look, my throat is parched.
Wow.
need need refreshing. You see, and so at that point, Jesus like, oh, look at this chick.
Let me bring
So
her on.
how far we are removed from I am a Jew and you are a
yeah.
Samaritan.
Mhm.
It's amazing how our nationalities don't matter no more. That because I got this fresh water, you don't mind buying the little boy's Jewish water.
Mhm.
You don't mind
Yeah.
if you have this water that none of your people have ever had.
Uh-huh.
You don't mind that you might be one color and I might be another color. You don't mind a color blend.
All right now.
You don't mind. See, because when you really thirsty,
Hmm.
your eyes are blind to the colors that
Absolutely.
you see.
That's
You
true.
just want what you want. And
That's
if
true.
I got to cross the line,
I'm gonna cross the line to get it.
which is how we got to that whole for the Caucasians, if you go black, you ain't going back.
Okay, I'm leaving that right
You gonna
there.
leave that right
I'm
there.
leaving. I'm
You gonna
not
leave. You
commenting
ain't
on
gonna
that.
comment. Right?
I'm not
You
commenting
gonna
on that.
comment?
But what I am going
I'm
to
gonna
say
tell you now.
is just like I'm not commenting
You're
on
not
that.
commenting.
I am not. I
That's
refuse
look.
to.
If
I
what you don't
refuse to.
comment to is consent.
Not today. I am not consenting to that.
You're not consenting. But
I
you
am
ain't
not.
saying nothing. You ain't saying it's
I am not
wrong.
consenting to that.
You're
But
not
what
saying
I
it's wrong.
am saying is
You're
just
not
like
saying it's wrong.
I'm not
And
saying
there
it's
it is
right
right there.
either.
And there it
It
is
is
right there.
not.
And
It
there
is
it is
not.
right
But what I am saying is
there.
the same way that he went to kind of pull her in because she was going down this
Oh,
this
she
road.
was like, quench me.
I know. So to me, that says that we need to, whenever you're in a marriage or in a relationship,
You got to know when to cut it off.
and exactly,
You
and
got to
when
know when to cut
things
it
are
off.
not going the way that they you feel they should be going, and you're not happy, and you're not satisfied. Whenever you run into situations like that, it doesn't matter. If you are in a committed relationship, if you are a mature person, you must know when to cut it off. Don't play around with it for a
Yes.
few minutes. Don't smile with her. Don't touch her. Don't say anything. Cut it off. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter if he's complimenting you because you're not getting the compliments at home. It doesn't matter if he's looking at you a certain way that you want your spouse to look at you. Cut it off. If you're in a marriage, you're in a marriage. Don't leave any doors open at all. Don't take a phone number. Don't smile at him or anything.
So that means
Don't entertain the
when we come in the
conversation at
office,
all.
we come in the office and I say, Savannah, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, that's a no-no. You don't do that.
You can't. It's so good to see you.
That's a no-no.
That's a no.
That's an absolute
Because see,
no.
this right here is testing the waters,
Absolutely. And if
right?
I let you do that, what else
What
am I
else?
going to allow you
And
to do?
so then it go from here. Then we start moving down the body parts,
You know.
and see. And the next thing you know, too much friction create heat, and at that point, we got to quench it.
Yeah.
We got to quench it. And this is how it happened. That's why the term work husband, work wife, that's where
Yeah.
that came from. It's the whole, well, what I don't get at home,
Mm.
I'll get at work.
Yeah, that doesn't work like that.
Yeah. This is where,
Yeah, I mean, I know that, but we got to grow up.
well, see, the grow. So let me just address that before we go to this next commercial. Let me say this to you. It's hard to grow up what you've never been parented in.
Well, you shouldn't be in a marriage then, if that's
Well,
the case.
but see, here's the thing. If society is saying that you have to be married,
Yeah.
right? And you know that marriage is the right thing,
Mhm.
and you go to do the right thing, but you've never been taught to do it the right way. You can actually enter into something that's supposed to be right, but be completely doing it wrong. Why? Because if you've never ever sought counsel, never gotten parented, you've never see in counseling. You've heard me say this. When I counsel marriages, I ask both man and woman to take into consideration all of the individuals that are currently in their life and past life. And I ask them, if you take the sum total, the people in your past and the people in your present,
Mhm.
how many couples have you ever seen that you would say presents to you a successful marriage? In 34 years of ministry, the largest number I ever got was 5 couples from one person. Five. Five. Genuinely, the answer is none.
Yeah.
So, if the human nature is you can only be as good as the company
Company you
you
keep,
keep,
right?
right? Birds of a feather
Flock
flock
together.
together, right? If you've never seen it,
Mhm.
how do you produce it?
Yeah.
Where is that going to come from? And then on the reverse, but if you are so commonly aware
Mhm.
of broken relationships,
Mhm.
if you are always in the midst of promiscuity,
Mhm.
people who are not committed, if that's the behavior that you are always around, then, ladies and gentlemen, let me break down biology 101 for you.
Mhm.
If you've been nursed in a certain ecosystem, you can only become what the ecosystem is
right.
feeding you. Care what your desire and or ambitions are.
Mhm.
If you do not become planted in another system,
That's
you will
right.
inevitably reproduce after the system that has nursed you,
Mhm.
which is a reason why, if we're going to look at salvation and being saved in Christendom, It is the reason why he says you must be born again,
Uh-huh.
because the original birth born you into a sin nature. You must now be born
That's right.
again, which is the redevelopment and then the uprooting of one system, being planted in another one,
Uh-huh.
so that you can now be nursed and you can now grow to a place of health so that you could do a lot of things that you've never seen.
Uh-huh.
But, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
if you've never done it, if you've never been replanted,
Mhm.
if you've never ever had an opportunity to see something that you, unfortunately, you're going to be like the woman at the well.
Yeah.
You're going to be like her. I'm going to pause right here because we're going to come back, and then I'm going to close this in my Baptist way. I'm going to close this, and then we are going to close out our show. This is TNT Talk. We're going to take a commercial. We're going to be right back.
More Americans are driving every day to work, to school, to church, or just to travel. And with all the new drivers on the road, accidents are sure to happen. Are you frustrated because your insurance keeps increasing? Are you shopping for a new car but need a good insurance rate? Then call Goosehead Insurance, the Smith Firm and Agency, the DMV's leading insurance broker. Whether it's a new car, too many tickets, a history of accidents, DUIs, or simply it's just too expensive, scan the QR code on the screen or visit us online at www.smithfirm.agency and submit an application for a quote. It only takes 2 minutes, and with AI technology and over 23 carriers to assist you, we can bind your policy and get you covered in the same day. Give our agents a call at 443-264-4398 or visit us online at www.smithfirm.agency. We're not just an agency, we're a standard of excellence.
And we're back with TNT Talk, and we have been talking about marriage gone wrong when you've been touched too much. And so I want to get to the close. This is the we in the Baptist church we get to the close. But before we get to the close, there is a question that is on the floor, and I want to let's address that question from our producer who's behind the scenes. He's mic'd up, and he wanted to ask a question. So let's hear this question.
Right. So my question is, how do you get over the lusting, the thirsting that happens because in our environment, especially in young environment, there's nothing but promiscuity. There's nothing but celebrating sex life. There's nothing but uh endorsing having sex early because the mindset is no one wants to be with a virgin, no one wants to be with an abstinent person. It's not fun, it's not socially correct, especially in this day and age. So what is the steps to take to make sure that you're aligning yourself in the right way? Because right now it's super hard to function in a abstinent mindset in a promiscuity world.
We gotta first the thing we gotta do is you gotta really say to yourself that I really want.
That's what I was about to say
You gotta
because
want it.
yes,
See,
you
you
have
gotta
to
you
want
gotta
it.
want it. Now that want has to come from a very genuine place. Now the problem is where it is, we ain't going to.
Yeah, and not only that, and I would say for this generation, if that is something that you genuinely want and desire, if that's the lifestyle that you want, you are going to display that. It's going to be something openly that you say. And to me, that's holding yourself accountable, is saying, okay, in the open, I'm not going to have sex before I get married. You know, I'm going to stop. I may be doing it now, but this is not how I want to continue. I want to eventually end up in a healthy relationship. And with me sleeping around like this, that's not going to give me the desired result that I want. So I would say that first, be vocal about it. it's not popular, and you have to be willing to be joked or criticized, especially with this generation, because of that. This
Well,
because of that
actually,
decision.
sweetheart, um, I actually saw something recently on a talk show, and the specific talk show host said the new thing now amongst their generation was actually not having sex. Here's the reason why: because there's a generation now that are looking to be more spiritual in
I
their
find that
relationship.
hard to believe.
Well, but again, here's what I would say. I would say now let me just be clear. Let me clarify something. I don't have no statistics to support the thought that was said by the specific talk show host. I don't have any data to support that. Um, I do know that there is a thirst and a hunger for spirituality in their generation, which does not necessarily point to Christendom only. It's
Okay.
pointing to a multiplicity of
Okay.
things,
All
right?
right.
So that's another issue. So because there is a sense of hunger in so many things, they are choosing to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Exploration, unfortunately, will lead you down a very dangerous, slippery slope because you're going to keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. But what if you find something that you can't let go of that
Mm-hmm.
ain't necessarily good for you?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to address what you said was, remember, I said in an ecosystem, if you're in that ecosystem, you are the sum total of that ecosystem.
Yeah.
You got to get out of that system.
Yes.
You got to get away from those people. Which is what when we was taught years ago from the scripture, come out from among them, be
Mm-hmm.
ye separate, saith the Lord, touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. You got to come out. You got to want to separate yourself
Mm-hmm.
because the circle is feeding you.
Yeah, and you have to be mentally strong enough to do that too. If you're
Well,
not
that's a whole
mentally,
nother.
but yeah, but
Yeah.
think
No,
about it
no, no,
though.
no.
The
Yeah.
desire and the mental state. If you're not strong enough to do that, then you're gonna forever
Yeah.
be the
It's
sum total of your environment or
and
the company that you keep.
and when you do it, unfortunately, there are some who can open up many doors
Mm-hmm.
and not be affected. There are some who open one door and will eternally be affected.
Yeah, so I hear you,
No,
but
I'm telling
so I'm
you,
just saying
I'm
this
telling
is
you,
just me. So I struggle with I hear what you're saying, but I struggle with, I guess, the statement that some may not be affected, because I think it, although it may be very small, you're gonna be affected by it.
well, what I mean
So
by, but
maybe
no, no, no. So hear me out. Everyone's consequences are different.
right.
So the effect of one is not going to be the
I
effect of
got you. Okay,
all.
we're on the same page.
Okay.
Okay, right.
Yes, everybody.
Okay,
There's not
yeah.
anyone who
Okay,
crosses that line that's not going to be affected. Everybody's going to be affected.
I got you.
The question is, A,
How is it going to affect you?
how affected are you?
Mm-hmm.
B, how long are you
Mm-hmm.
going to be affected? And C, what are the results
Hmm.
from the effect?
Yeah.
So those are different things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are different things. So because we're getting to the end of the show, we maybe have to come back and talk about the solution to this marriage gone wrong
Mm-hmm.
and the promiscuity that is out there, because let me tell you how Jesus satisfies the woman at the well. Because remember, this conversation goes into a twist about thirst,
Mm-hmm.
and then he says, I got something that's going to quench your thirst. She says, want my thirst quenched.
Mm-hmm.
He then says, well, go get your husband. Then she says, well, I don't have a husband.
Mm-hmm.
Then he says, all right, now I can get to the close.
Mm-hmm.
Because he then says, you don't have a husband now. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
The other five that you've had before are
Mm-hmm.
not your husband either.
Uh-huh.
Now, let me tell you how he was setting her up.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he said, your current husband is not your husband, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Then he said, the last five husbands
All right.
are not your husbands either. So you count five plus one, is 6.
Mhm.
So he says you have had 6 husbands. 6 is the biblical number of man.
Mhm.
It is also the biblical number of sin.
Mhm.
It says you've had this overload of sin in your life.
Mhm.
He said, but little did you know that at this well, you
Uh-huh.
have now met
Yeah.
your 7th husband.
Mhm.
Because I'm not just a person that you thought I was.
Now,
I am the one that have come to satisfy all thirst.
all first.
It's not just you, but it's everyone.
Mhm.
He was talking about the prophecy that he had once said about those that were in the wilderness who
Mhm.
ate manna from the heavens and died.
Mhm.
He said, but if any man eat this bread
Mhm.
and drink of this cup,
Yes.
he said, you're not going to hunger and you're
There's
not
no
going to
more.
thirst
That's right.
no more because he is the living
That's
bread.
right.
He is the manifestation of the husbandman
Mhm.
that God was trying to get back that had become the whore that was in the book of Hosea.
Mhm.
He was trying to show how he could win them back. And in this story, he was trying to use this particular
Mhm.
situation to say, you all have been married so many times.
Mhm.
You all have been engaged so many times.
Uh-huh.
You all have had so many different people.
Mhm.
But if you would allow me to introduce myself, the husband that comes to satisfy it all. And if you allow me to be in your life
Mhm.
and allow me to quench your thirst,
Mhm.
you will never have a desire for anybody else.
Right.
That's close. That's where he was trying to get them.
Mhm.
And I would say to any of you, allow Jesus
That's
to be
right.
that last husbandman in your life. Allow him to quench your thirst because if you allow him to do so,
That's right.
you will never, ever
Never.
thirst again. If you have enjoyed the show on this day, we have certainly enjoyed being with you. We want you to tune in on the next show as we will continue our conversation about relationships and certainly will continue this conversation to the next step how we can heal marriage gone wrong. This has been TNT Talk with your host, Dr. Tyrone and Lady Savannah. We hope to see you next time, sweetheart. Give them some love and tell them we out of here.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we have something for you on our next episode. So hopefully, we said something today that you could glean from. Uh,
You stuck.
watch. No,
They say, oh my goodness, you stuck.
really, I'm not stuck. So if you're in a relationship, be mindful of what you are feeding into. I think
Be-
that's the best advice that I have for you today. If you're not in a healthy place, if you're not in a happy place, don't allow others to bait you into situations that you don't want to be in.
And if you don't know, you better ask somebody.
That's right.
See you next week. This is
Next week.
TNT Talk. We out of here. Take care.